From Pacifica Radio in San Francisco, this is Flashpoints. I'm Dennis Bernstein. Today on the show, we follow up on the harsh arrests in Birmingham, Alabama yesterday. Legends in the civil rights movement strip-searched and then put in orange jumpsuits. Also, Trump's shock troops heading for the streets of Oakland, California, and other cities near you. Bay Area activists are ready for the Trumpster and his shock troops, and a Bay Area activist and artist in the 10th day of a life-threatening hunger strike. We'll find out why. All this coming up straight ahead on Flashpoints. Stay tuned. But first, joining us is John Sheridan. He's a Bay Area activist and artist, and he is on the 10th day of a hunger strike. He's trying to really put his body on the line to call attention to how important it is to have a real, consistent national program of testing that people take seriously. Now, I can tell you, we're here in San Francisco, and I've got a very busy street outside my window with a bank across the street, and I can tell you there's a lot of people wearing masks, but there's a lot of people who aren't wearing masks, and they go to a bank which has its electronic windows about a foot apart, so if you're not wearing a mask, and you're breathing into a screen, and you're a foot and a half apart from the person next to you. This is San Francisco. This isn't Texas, and people aren't paying attention. John, how are you doing? How are you feeling? You're on your 10th day of this hunger strike. Tell us how you're feeling and why you're putting your body through this and risking your life.
Hi, Dennis. I'm feeling a little weaker today, not surprisingly. But, I'm determined to remain functional enough to continue to fight to raise our consciousness and our consciences as long as I'm able. It's uncomfortable, and I must have low blood sugar, but I feel that I can and I will continue, and it's basically because we have to, in this country, begin to value others as we value ourselves. For us to sit back and wait for a COVID-19 vaccine is unconscionable, and we should be ashamed. We can't wait for that. So I'm going to continue, despite the discomfort, to fight for universal COVID-19 testing and tracing.
And you've really sort of become information central on testing and what's going on in some of the troubled spots. So why don't you talk a little bit? I know you're concerned these days about what's happening in San Quentin, over 3,000 infected now, 10 dead. Talk to us about some of the things that are going on now that are on your mind in terms of what's happening because of the lack of testing and a real program to stop the virus.
Absolutely. You're exactly right. San Quentin's being overwhelmed. I mean, you have a bunch of prisoners who have absolutely no protection, nowhere to go. And the COVID infection is raging there. As well, I heard an earlier report today on KPFA that Santa Rita has seen an astronomical increase in the number of infections. Obviously, everything that we're talking about with the pandemic, exposing all of the injustices and inequalities, the racism, you name it, the xenophobia of this society, as well. I was just looking at the AmericanProgress.org website, and they have this very disturbing graph of the astronomical infection rate among immigrants detained in the U.S. detention camps, and it's over 55%. That's more than twice the highest infection rate in any state in the country so far. And again, we're talking about people who have absolutely no protection, nowhere to go, and we're allowing this to rage like a wildfire through these detained populations. And again, this is unconscionable.
We have seen the president trying to resist a real program of protection, mask, distancing. He's finally worn a mask, but I'm wondering if you have been watching what's going on in Congress. They talk about the HEROES Act, $75 billion proposed for testing and tracing. You think that will help?
It's now in the Senate. It was passed quite a long time ago by the House of Representatives, and they sent up a $3 trillion bill that included, they say, $75 billion for testing and tracing. Well, the Republicans, I just heard today, Mitch McConnell has reduced that from $75 to $25 billion. Just to put this into perspective, Nobel Prize-winning economist Paul Romer estimates that for a true universal program that will test each American every 2 weeks, and our frontline workers and our children and their teachers every day or so, would cost $200 billion compared to $25 billion. That's why it becomes a drop in the bucket when you can't test everyone. Obviously, people who are test positive and are asymptomatic are just going to go about their lives unknowingly infecting others, and we'll never stop that at this rate.
All right, John, we're going to keep our dialogue going with you. You're on your 10th day of this hunger strike, trying to get people's attention in terms of how important it is to be a part of a national program in terms of distancing, masks, and, of course, testing for the virus and testing for the antibodies in terms of understanding where the spread is, how things are moving. Very courageous, John. 10th day of this hunger strike. I'm urging you to be careful. I'm sure you have friends around you looking out for you, and that's very good. We thank you for looking out for the community in the Bay Area, across the country, and those listening around the world. We urge you to be careful, and we will talk to you again tomorrow. Okay, John? Thanks for doing that.
Well, thank you, Dennis.
Yes.
And if people want to find out more, my website is universalcovid19testing.com, and that's with hyphens in between each of the words and numbers.
Give us that one more time, please.
universal-covid-19-testing.com. universalcovid19testing.com.
Be careful. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you, Dennis.